So I wish I had something profound, insightful, historic, technically interesting for you today, but I don't. I have updates. I got lots of updates because there's a lot of stuff happening in and around the shop. So let's bring you up to speed on what we've got so far. First off, Bodyman Ron has dragged in this specimen. So this is a 360 Magnum, and he's going to build this for his Dakota. So this is all going. It's going to be a two-wheel drive. But he's building this for his Dakota. It's going to be a mild street performance build. Nothing crazy, nothing exotic, just something very typical of what the average person would build. He has a cam already picked out for it. I'm not sure of the rest of the build, but I do know that this is going to stay fuel injected. It's going to stay with, that system. So we've had a lot of people asking for Magnum stuff, fuel injection stuff and whatnot. Well, here we go. We're going to do this one. And I'll bring you up to speed further as I know more. But it's here now, and he's stripping off all of the extraneous stuff, getting it ready to mount on the stand, and we'll dig into this, I don't know, shortly, within the next few days. Find out what's under those valve covers. All right. The grudge race of the century, Casper versus Bottle Rocket. We have a date. The date is set. We're not going to announce the date because a couple of reasons, but first, Andy has a kind of job where he's kind of on call. Like if his company needs him, he's got to be there. So the date is there, but I'm not gonna hang him up if he has to work. So, and also the weather around this region, this time of the year, is very finicky. It's like a wet season, so the weather is crazy. So that's why we're not going to announce an actual date, because again, all of the clowns in the peanut gallery, I thought you were going to race on this date. I thought you were going to. No, we'll race on the date that we've decided. If it has to go to the next weekend, it'll go to next weekend. If it's got to go to one after that, I don't care. Andy doesn't care. We'll race when we race, and you'll see it on our channels. But that's that. Now, for those of you who are new to this whole thing, I'll give you the rundown on it. So, Casper is it's a F100 pickup. It's got a hybrid Boss 429 in it. It's got tunnel ram. It's got a pair of dominators on top of it. It's made 700 horsepower on a dyno on pump gas. Like, this thing is an absolute beast. And we have a relatively stock 318. So we're gonna run one run off the trailer, right? No practice runs, no test hits, nothing like that. Just one run off the trailer, pull to the start line and send it. $5,000, winner take all. All right. So the date, we set this date a year ago now in March, and we were supposed to race in October. So what happened was Andy needed a set of headers fabricated for this truck, because obviously you can't just hit the catalog for a set of headers for a hybrid Boss 429 in an F100. They just don't cover it. So he had to have a set custom made, stainless headers. Beautiful, they're a work of art. The fabrication shop that he chose to do this, they took a little bit longer than they were supposed to. He was supposed to get the truck back in August, then it got moved to September, then it got moved to October, and that was the end of the race as far as that goes. And he finally got it back like right before Christmas. So he put the truck together and he's run it. He's got 3 runs on it so far. He's run, well, the first one was in Mexico and no traction, like 0 traction, as you'd kind of expect from a combination like he has. And then he made 2 runs over at Shady Side, which is his local track. They're open year round. He made 2 runs. And the first was a 686. And I was like, ooh, okay, that's really strong, right? Then his second run that same day was a 786. Now, I don't know what happened between the 2 runs. I don't remember exactly, but you can go back and look at his videos, Unity Motorsports Garage, and he explains everything that he did. So that's what's up with Casper. It's gone 686, it's gone 786, there's only 2 runs under its belt. Bottle Rocket. So in preparation for the race, we ran it to the track. Now, I wanted to test a converter. Primarily, I wanted to test a converter because I didn't think it was doing what I expected it to do. So we went to the track, and the plan was, I only had enough nitrous in the bottle for 1 run. The plan was to stop on the way to the track and get the bottle filled, but we were running late, and that didn't happen. I had enough nitrous for 1 hit. Not even for a full hit, but just to launch the car. So I decided I was going to leave in second gear. I wanted to see what the converter was going to do. So I left in second gear, I sprayed on the hit, and the car reacted great, and it ran a 770. About halfway down the track, it started to feel a little like not right. I let off the button and motored through. The motor was fine. The plugs looked beautiful. Everything was good, but it was out of nitrous. It just went fat at that point. So with a 770, leaving in second gear and only spraying to the halfway mark, I'm content with that. That tells me that leaving in first, hooked up with an aggressive tune-up in it as far as the nitrous goes, because it was very mild that night. With a bunch of nitrous thrown at it and spraying all the way through, I should have a 17.70 range combination. I think it'll do it. Like, traction is no problem. The suspension on the car works great. The motor's holding together. It's running good. So it's just a matter of putting that run together, and I'm confident that it'll do it. So now, what is going to show up at this race? Is it going to be 686 Casper, in which case I'm getting gapped? Or is it 786 Casper? Yeah? And in which case I got them covered. So we'll find out. The thing that's in my favor is that Casper has a lot of power, and it's not completely sorted, and it's not consistent yet. And that's what's in my favor. Bottle Rocket, I think she's going to go fine. We only made that one run. It was the end of the season. The track was closing at that point. But I've launched it 1,000 times out here. I've sprayed a bunch through it to see what it wants to do and how it wants to react and all. So what I found, and I'll show you a change that I made to the car. What I found is that it wants to spray at the hit. It doesn't want it 5 feet out, 10 feet out. It wants it on the hit. Because remember, this is just a little 318. So it wants it on the hit. I know a bunch of you guys are going to be like, oh, no, you do that, you're going to blow up the motor, you're going to crush the ring lands, you're going to explode the intake manifold. Look, I've launched this thing countless times now, spraying it on the hit, and that's what it wants. She's fine. So up until now, I had the nitrous on the activation button on the shifter. And it got to the point that I had to hit the gas and pull the button at the same time. That's what it wanted. So I said, all right, well, as long as I got to do all that, let's take the human error out of the equation. I'll just make it automatic. So I pulled the switch off of the shifter, and I made this bracket. I made this setup over here. So this is like a transmission cable shifter bracket, and I drilled it and twisted it and bent it and whatnot, and I mounted this right here as a Chrysler brake light switch. So now, as soon as you open the throttle, boom, she's all there. So even I can't screw that up, you know? Full send right out of the gate. And as far as the tune-up on the car goes, the race, it's a 660-foot race, and this thing is going to be set to go 559 feet and 11 inches, right? I am going to give Andy a run for his money if it kills me. All right. Let's move on to other stuff. So the other day, a couple days ago, my friend Kevin Shaw from Mopar Connection magazine swung by. So he's doing a project. It's called Project Marsha, named after the Brady Bunch. It's a 70 Fury convertible, and he's building a big block for it. So he needed parts. He needed a bunch of big block parts. So I says, Kevin, just bring a couple of dollars and bring your truck, and I will load you up. So he came by, I loaded him up. I gave him heads and rockers and intake manifolds. I mean, I just cleaned up a big pile of stuff. He said, oh, that's a great deal. I said, no, you're doing me a favor, you clean it up. Because I'm getting to the point right now that I'm assessing everything. I'm looking over my landscape, and I'm saying, all right, there are certain things, certain engines, certain cars that I wanted to do in the past, and I've been accumulating parts for that I will never get to. I've got my hands full just with the cars that we've already got and the builds that we've already got scheduled. So I'm getting rid of extraneous things. If it's not dedicated to one of the cars that already exists, it's going. So all of that big block stuff, and there's actually a lot more that's going to go too. But while I'm getting rid of things that I'm not going to use and probably never going to get to, on the flip side, I'm accumulating things that I need, that I'm going to go through. So scored a fantastic deal the other day on Facebook Marketplace. Now, I hate Facebook. Facebook is like a cancer. Kathy goes on Facebook to post the videos, the UTG videos, but that's it. That's the extent of it. I go on there for Marketplace because Marketplace is the only game in town anymore. Marketplace took over Craigslist, and Craigslist took over the local classifieds. So Marketplace is where you find things that you're looking for, and I found the stuff I'm looking for. So I scored this deal. This is all 904 and 727 parts. So there was an ad pop up on there. 904, 727 parts, $185 for everything. Sold, right? So, and then he found some more stuff for like another $25. I got all of these bands, all brand new bands. So, I don't know, do the math. It's like I'm not a scientist. It came to like $200. So, what I got with this deal is I got several complete overhaul kits, right? Bunch of those. I got a lifetime supply of clutches and steel, 904 and 727. I've got paper kits. There's a bunch of them. Pan gaskets. There's a big stack of filters. This is all of these bands. This box right here, which has got like it's all full of seals and bevel springs and shift kits, and I mean just loaded with torque flight goodness. So the guy's name was Harold. He lives not too far from here. He's got a 61 bubble top Chevy. I got to go check out. It sounds like a really cool car. But he gave me a fan. Harold, thank you so much for the great deal. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So now I guess I can blow up a torque flight a month for the rest of my life, and we're good to go. All right. So yesterday's video, we were talking about avoidance, project avoidance, and how I had been putting off working on the Charger because of the crud that's underneath it. Well, yeah, I bit the bullet. I climbed underneath there, and I've been scraping. So this is the first load of stuff. I filled this bucket with clay that came off the bottom of the car, and I'm not done. So the rear end housing is looking okay. Like the vast majority of that bucket came off the housing, if you can imagine that. And there's still more to go. Yeah, look at this. That's off the backing plate. To give you an idea what we're dealing with here. It's just, it's an unbelievable amount of crud. So, it just comes off in chunks. So I still got a bunch to go here. It's drudgery, you know, it's drudgery. I don't want this car perfect. I don't want it perfect. I don't want to make something that, you know, I don't want to, I won't want to drive it through a puddle, you know, or anything like that. I want it like normal road dirt and stuff like that is fine under here, but this caked on clay is just over the top. And yes, I did pressure wash this when I first got it, but that stuff was so caked on there, so solidified, it didn't want to come off. The whole bottom of the car is like this. So I'm not going to go nuts. I'm not going to go nuts, but all of the loose stuff has got to come off of here. And it's a blessing and a curse, because while it's representing a lot of like really drudgerous, miserable work under here right now, this stuff did preserve the car. Like moisture never got through that clay. So the metal under this car is pristine. I mean, it's really, really nice. It's really solid. So, you know, you got to deal with the good and the bad. So I'm going to keep going with this. This cheap, well, this is a weird angle, right? This is a very weird angle. But you know what? We'll just go with it. We'll just go with it. This cheap oven cleaner works great too. It doesn't take off the stuff Like if it's packed on there, the clay, it won't really penetrate it. It just kind of like rolls off the surface. But if you break the clay loose and then you spray this stuff on there, let it sit for a little bit, and then wipe it off, it takes a lot of the dirt off. So like this stuff here, this is like my new best friend. Last week we did that shootout between this cheap, the $1.25, used to be dollar store, now it's $1.25, you know, inflation. We did the shootout between this and the expensive stuff at $6 a can, and this stuff did just as good a job as the expensive stuff. So I bought a bunch of it then, and I am going back to buy another bunch of it now, because like I said, this is my new best friend. This stuff is awesome. So that's it. I pulled the dry shift and the exhaust out of it. I drained the transmission, but I'm not going to pull the tranny until I get to at least the point where I could put a coat of paint on the rear axle housing. I'm not going to go crazy with the rest of this under here, but I do want it to be so that if you look under the back of the car, at least it looks decent. So, and then I get this painted, and then I'll pull the tranny. So that's it for now. That's the update. Tomorrow I'll try to come up with something like profound. I just want to see. I'll see you tomorrow.